Oh, well, I think we got it. Today we're going to be doing it right, boys. First, we're going to be taking off the turbo, the drag intake manifold, the Magnus fuel rail, then the whole engine and transmission is coming out, and there's going to be one big giant hole here because of one reason. For those that remember, number one rod bearing let loose. We tried to fix it, did not work, bad idea. I know many of you guys told me not to. We still did it because we just wanted to experiment. Did not work. However, today we're going to be doing it right because of this little guy right here. Now we got a huge part list. We have everything from a brand new crank to brand new aluminum connecting rods, which these things are so beautiful. We have tons of parts that are going in, and well, it all starts with pulling out this motor. So before we pull this motor, I just want to say one quick thing. Well, there's 300 of you guys, and I just want to say thank you for you guys subscribing. Now either you're here to see me fail or see me succeed. I'm not 100% sure. Regardless, thank you guys for being here. So we have 2 weeks to get this done because in 2 weeks is what's called Import Face-Off, and that is pretty much a big giant car show where I go drag racing. And well, I'm hoping to take the GSX. So we have 2 weeks to get all this done. Enough of me talking, let's get started. What I love about this car is that I put the huge QTP drag radios on it. And these things are pretty much slicks, but they're DOTs, and they're on the road to slipstreams. So they're super, super light. I love these things. So if you guys are wondering, the brake setup on this GSX is actually an Outlander brake setup. It has the GSX dual piston caliper, but it has an Outlander brake kit. It has the brake anchor and... mind. Anyways, the rod bearing just let loose, so this is the first time we're going to be draining the oil again. I'm actually really excited. I guarantee it's going to look horrible. It's actually in decent, well, not decent shape because there's a big old metal clob right there. So before taking out the axle shafts, we actually have to drain the transmission fluid. So the drain plug is here and the fill plug is there. So we're going to be taking off that guy. So it's usually red. Well, that's definitely not red. Nice. So upon removing this engine, I'm going to go over a lot of parts that are on this car. That way you guys kind of get an idea of what's done to it. This thing's freaking tiny as heck. It's an Odyssey PC680. It's one of the smallest batteries that you can get for a DSM. And honestly, it only weighs in at 12 pounds. My hand's not big, but you can see that. That is freaking tiny as heck. So what's holding it down is a JMF battery hold down, which, yep, more billet aluminum. So now that the battery's out, next thing is this intercooler piping. So I got this blow off valve. It looks like a tile. Be totally honest with you, I don't even know if this thing's real or not. I bought it off a buddy of mine, and he said it was a real tile, but nowadays you really can't even tell. It holds up to 50 pounds of boost, so I'm assuming it works okay. We'll just find out and see how long this thing lasts. That's nasty. Look how black that is inside there. So it also has a Fuel Lab fuel filter with a -8 AN fuel line going to the Magnus fuel rail, which the fuel rail is kind of an overkill, but it has 2150cc injectors, and we run C16. The car's name is Black Widow because of one reason. When I bought the car, I've literally been through about maybe 30 to 40 Black Widows on this car. The catch can uses -10 AN lines, and well, it's just some little cheap vented catch can that I found off eBay for like 40 bucks. Honestly, this thing, all it does is supposed to hold the vapor and the oil, and it does what it's supposed to. The one thing I love about this car is that, well, I decided to do a side exit. And this thing is massive. I love this thing. Look at these welds. My bad. So I totally forgot about the boost controller line that comes off from the turbo. But the boost controller is fine, it's okay. It was zip tied on, it just kind of flew off, no big deal. But on the other hand, check out this monstrosity. It looks like a giant spider. The turbo is a Halset HX40 turbo. So the secret about this guy is it's actually a custom 6767 with a billet aluminum wheel. And this thing spooled up at about 5600 RPMs, where it saw about 20 pounds of boost. It saw about 45 pounds of boost, about 6200 RPMs. So this was a big boy, and I believe the AR housing is a 1.0. So the inlet for the whole fuel system is a -8 AN fuel line. In the tank is a Walbro 255 fuel pump, and it's pushing the fuel to a Bosch 044 inline fuel pump. And I'm not sure how much we can get out of it. Honestly, I think that's the limiting factor of all this, but we're just gonna kind of run it until it kind of says no. So here's the Magnus fuel rail, and connected to it is 2150 cc's. And while they've been spraying race gas almost their entire life, so they should be clean, because we've never ran E85 on this car, just because of the fact that we can't get it locally. That stuff's almost impossible to find. So we finally got all the bolts off for the intake manifold. It's a JMF drag intake manifold. These things are one of the largest intake manifolds that you can get for the DSMs. I already undid all the fittings at the bottom, and I'm finally taking this thing out. Oh man. God, this thing's girthy. So usually they come chrome. I had this one powder coated black, which it looks super good, and it's made it up to an S90 throttle body. I want to say it's a 70 millimeter. So don't pay any attention to this rat nest back here. So the next thing that we got to undo is the JMF relocation kit for the coils. We got to take this off, take off the starter, do something with this wiring mess, and then last is take off the Saturn alternator. Alright, so we finally got the alternator off, the starter, we got the bracket, the relocation kit for the coils, we got all this stuff in the back finally off. Alright, you guys, that's not bad for day one. We did a lot of stuff. We took off the drag intake manifold, we took off the turbocharger, we took off all the fuel lines, we took off a lot of stuff, and the motor is almost ready to come out, but we can't finish it because it's about 11 o'clock at night right now. We got to go to bed because I got to wake up in the morning, go back to work. When I get off, we're coming back, we're tearing this apart. So you'll see me tomorrow in 3, 2, 1. And we're back on day 2. So work was, well, you know how it is, work. So I'm actually an automotive mechanic for a living. I work Monday through Friday as a regular flat rate mechanic. That means I get paid on commissions, not hourly. And honestly, I would probably never go back. We're so close to taking this motor out. The next thing we gotta do is take off the front engine mount, which is this guy here. Take off this cross member, and then the rear engine mount, which is this guy here. And then take off the oil filter housing, drain the coolant, hook up the chains, and we should get the hoist out here, and we'll be taking this thing out. There you go. That was easy. So I totally forgot about the baby T-case we have down here. It's a stock T-case. I've done 1/6 in the 60 foots, and I have not blown this up yet. And I don't know how this thing's still alive, but it's still alive. So we're gonna drop this out, and then we'll continue on. I got all the bolts off of the T-case. Luckily for me, it's not too heavy, but it still is heavy. I should have used a jack, but nah, it works. Check that out. So we finally got the back motor mount out. Even with all this stuff torn apart, it was still hard as heck to freaking get this mount and bracket off. Now I just want to show you guys something real fast. If you can kind of see these crappy welds, well, yeah, that's for me. Anyways, this bracket actually snapped off, and we were doing an all-wheel drive launch on this bad boy, and it actually snapped off the brackets, which I've never seen that happen. Go figure, right? And we got more billet aluminum. All the motor mounts are made by Avid Racing, and yep, they're the hardest urethane rubber that you can get with the motor mounts. We have them in the side mount, the tranny mount, the front mount, and of course the rear mount. This thing is like one big giant vibrator. Am I allowed to say that? But I love this thing. I don't want to damage it, so we are going to be taking off the stainless steel Allens and taking off the valve cover next. So now that we got the valve cover off, I want to show you the performance parts that I put in this head about 3 years ago. It's running the JSC's S3 cams with the Kingley Racing pressure regulator. It also has the stainless steel retainers and the GSC's beehive springs as well. Also, it's running the JSC's stainless steel intake and exhaust valve with the Gates Racing timing belt. I'm not seeing too much metal shavings in here. We are going to be hot tanking the head and the block just to be 100% that there's no metal shavings. We're so close. We got the chain on the engine. It's ready to come out, except for one thing. So we got to get the engine hoist, which is behind there. So first we got to back out the Evo, hook up the hoist, and then do the most craziest angle that you guys ever seen, and then take this thing straight up. So we finally got all the motor mounts off and this thing's ready to come out. Now we haven't taken off the oil filter housing yet. I want to see if we can try and do this without taking off the housing, just because it's a pain in the butt. You got to take off the timing cover and all that good stuff. So as you can see, there's no motor mounts, nothing holding this thing on no more. Honestly, the only thing that's holding this on is the chain and well, the floor jack that's over here. Oh man, oh, we got it. Holy crap. Oh man. Oh, well, I think we got it. So, now what we gotta do is, well, unfortunately we gotta put this thing on an engine stand next, because now we gotta start tearing it all apart, and well, we'll go from there. So before we put it on the engine stand, we have to separate the engine and the transmission, which is held together with a couple of bell housing bolts. Not a really big deal. You know, it should be super easy from what we've done so far. Oh, here it is. Yeah, we got it. So we almost got it ready for the engine stand. It's about 11 o'clock at night right now, so we're almost done. We're almost there. Now, the only reason why I'm trying to hurry this up is because, well, remember, in 2 weeks, we have a race that we got to be at up in Tucson, Arizona, which is called Import Face-Off. And this has to be done because, well, you know, in life, you set goals. And, well, I really like setting my goals. So all that's left on the engine to hook it up to the engine stand is the Quartermaster twin disc clutch. Now this clutch, it's taken a beating within the last past, you know, 500-600 miles, and it's still in really good shape. So I mean, we're gonna reuse this thing. There's nothing wrong with it. We're just gonna make sure that we set it back exactly how we took it off, because I believe these are balanced. It's a little hot. It's a little bit of burn marks. It'll be okay. Nice. We had one goal for today, boys, and that was to get what was in here onto a stand. And lo and behold, we accomplished that goal today, and we're so much closer to getting this thing ready. I know, I put the turbo on, it looked cool. I think it looks cool, yeah? In life, if you guys want something, you're either gonna A, make it happen, or B, make an excuse. And today, we ain't got no excuses, because we got 2 weeks, boys, to get this motor done. So we gotta tear it down, rebuild it, and hopefully put it back in before the 2-week deadline, because in 2 weeks, we're gonna be taking the car to Import Face-Off, which I'm hoping we're gonna be running at 10.5 at 140 plus miles an hour. I'm hoping. Now, if you guys wanna follow along for the teardown, go ahead and smash the like button, subscribe, because next video we're going to be tearing this thing down. Well, thank you so much. We'll see ya. Bye.